Okay. So Evan wanted to speak about something that happened or could have happened with a client and how Gipson Cyber would respond to it. So let's see. What can we talk about? There has been, let's say, a couple times. This is a low level sort of alert, but we've had clients that have alerted on a PS4 controller software, so PlayStation 4 controller software being being installed on the corporate machine or the machine used for work. So what it does is it's an emulator. With Microsoft machines, you can use controllers like an Xbox controller, but PlayStation 4 controllers don't work for Windows. So it uses this emulator to this program to basically patch that between the two, so you can use a PS4 controller. Well, inherently, that software is not malicious. I've used it on a personal scale to do that, but it is a piece of software that should not be utilized on a work machine that's also housing sensitive business, sensitive client data, that sort of thing. It is still an open source tool that is monitored, that is used for a non-business use. So we call that, getting rid of those things. We call that lowering the threat landscape, or decreasing the cyber battlefield, if you want. Basically, it's the idea that if things you don't need to have them available, there's less of a chance for them to be vulnerable. Like, does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
That definitely makes sense.
I like to make the analogy of, like, if you're afraid that you're gonna die in a plane accident, you generally don't fly in planes, but you have more of a chance to die in a car accident than you do in a plane accident. So it's kind of one of those same things where you might be protecting one side and actually exposing a vulnerability on the other. So let's how we handled that was, we got that alert and we contacted we stopped the download from happening and blocked that particular file from being downloaded and used on the machine. And then we notified the owner of the business that we speak to directly, saying, hey, this user was downloading this file. It's not technically malicious, but shouldn't be used for business purposes. Please inform them of that. And generally we'll add some links to help them out with this is why you shouldn't do that sort of thing. It goes that is part of our services, which I think is really awesome, because we don't just send out a pop-up or have a pop-up alert come in or send an email. We're actually responding to the threats with a person going, hey clients, let your employee know that they're acting irresponsibly with client data in this way, and this is a threat to your business, and you should respond in this manner. So it kind of brings it in on all fronts, letting them know that it's happened, telling them why it's important and what to do about it, and to stop it in the future.
Correct.
So
no, that's good. That's good.
So that's a low level one, and just talking about someone that's like possibly a secretary or an assistant that's utilizing games or some other thing on their corporate personal or corporate business devices, be it phones or computers. Now, if we're talking about something that's a little more serious, um, I've given this example before, but it's the one that I go to most often. It's the incident involving the CPA in Denver, where a um, a CPA was hacked. What happened was a targeted phishing email was sent to his business. He's a solopreneur that had been operating for about 30 years, and his father started the company. So his client list has been curated for about 50 years, getting to about 300 clients. And he got a targeted phishing email one day saying, "Hey, I'm a new client. Here's my W-2. Please download it and give me a call after you've looked at it." And so he did that. He downloads the PDF, thinking, "Okay, it's a PDF. It's got to be a protected file." Well, that PDF had malicious code in behind it that was invisible to the naked eye, and that started a process to allow the attacker to remotely access his computer. And from there, this particular person didn't have any sort of security besides the free personal. I believe he was using Norton antivirus, and then the Windows, anything that was just pre-installed on his machine. So nothing really enterprise or really focused on actually securing him. So when the attacker started doing that, after he went through the checks and balances that of the pop-ups that come in saying, "Hey, do you want to let this do this, this, and this?" He clicked OK through all of that and allowed the attacker in. Well, that's not going to show up on one of those antiviruses because technically you just allowed that behavior to happen. In a more advanced tool, such as why we use Checkpoint, is that an advanced tool would notice that based on past behavior of that user. So if they know that generally they don't go to links via a PDF, then that's something that we want to look at or maybe stop. It may be if they don't generally get emails from that specific user, maybe that's something we want to look at, and we would get all that alerting. But none of that happened. None of that alerting happened with a non-enterprise antivirus like Norton, McAfee, WebRoot, that sort of thing. And even though technically he was compliant by the IRS, right? Technically, compliance doesn't mean security. So,
Yep.
This after the attacker gained access, the attacker realized that this person also didn't have any sort of real cloud storage or data storage at all, and they had stored all of the W-2s they had for their clients on the desktop of their computer, the desktop folder, and in the downloads folder. So they didn't have to hack any other application. They just looked in those folders and found all that information, and then extracted it all off that machine, so they can use it at their will. And normally that's where we hear it stop, right? That they've got the data, they're gone. They're not gonna try to do anything else with that person, right? But in this case, the attackers ended up taking that information and immediately started to submit fraudulent claims in the client's names using the CPA's credentials as the tax preparer, which is really bad, especially when your business is a CPA for about 300 people. So we had to, luckily he knew who to call and started to call around, and ended up finding me to help him out. He had called a number of different bigger companies, and they kind of pushed him away because he didn't make enough money. some of the bigger corporations, you need to have a net income of like $3 million a year just for them to work with you. But these people that are getting attacked don't have $3 million in net
No.
income to do that. If they did, they probably wouldn't be attacked, right?
Hmm.
So when it, so he finally ended up finding me, as we all know, Gipson Cyber works with small businesses, so I was happy to help him out. And yeah, it became an investigation where I had the IRS involved. We had to contact the FBI to let them know that it happened.
Wait,
And what's that?
were they able to obtain any money?
No, no. And honestly, they didn't even really look at it. I called the we called the IRS. They basically just said, "Okay, yeah, we'll inform the FBI," and that's it. There was
Interesting.
they note it down, and they got the pertinent details, like the who, what, when, where, and why of it.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of, they said, okay, notify the FBI, and we will note this down, and that's it. That's all they ever do.
And they weren't. They once that person got all their information stolen, that it was gone, right?
Yeah, it's gone. And then you have the headache of the CPA has the headache, as well as the business owner that had their information stolen. Of They've already had claims in their name, so now the IRS has to peel apart which claim is which, and if that information is correct, and all this other stuff, just to make sure that there's not any more fraud that's being happened. Because the CPA didn't find out that this was happening until he started to submit claims of his own for his clients, legitimate claims, and getting kickbacks from the IRS saying, no, this claim's already been submitted.
That's crazy.
And he did it again and did it again, and it ended up being about 8 people by the anything that's said and done that had fraudulent claims. Out of 300 clients, that's not bad, but that's still, I mean, to me, that's still 8 people's, like, whole, their refunds delayed and everything. Like, they can't, well, it's all sorted out. So that could, as a business owner, I could see how that could greatly affect it. If you're expecting, an income check to come next month and it comes 3 months later, that would be, or a refund check, you know what I mean? That would be a pretty big hit.
Yeah.
And so that it affects that. But then what really shocked me was that on the other side of the coin, the response that we got from the IRS and the FBI, and which was really, I mean, there was no response from the FBI. It was a form that you filled out on their website, um, and it just gave you a confirmation email saying, "Yep, we got it." And then the IRS was just, they just said, okay, contact the FBI. And it was really them basically telling me to write it off. Like, they'll mark down the time. This is the time frame that these accounts or possibly had made fraudulent claims. And now anything past from this point to this point is non-fraudulent claims, and we can move forward. And that's really all that happened. And it's
That's
crazy. It's crazy because now they're basically just saying, "Yep, all right, people, you can have the information. We'll just note it down that it might have gotten stolen between this time and this time."
yeah. I mean, what? That's oh man, that's awful.
And it's just, it's kind of like we were talking before, Evan. The system is built on a vulnerability. There's no way that you're going to get, like, the Social Security Administration to issue new Social Security numbers anytime someone gets their Social Security number stolen.
No, for sure.
Like, imagine the Experian hack. Like, half the country his information was stolen.
My
Could
God,
you imagine the madness it'd be to, like, roll half the country's Social Security numbers?
you can't do that.
They're like, no one would be paying bills. Like, they're, oh, That's not my social security number. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep. That's yep. Oh,
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, those are the two ones that come to mind. Evan or Chris, do you have any other scenarios that you've kind of run across or have heard of?
um, since my time being in this, um, what do I have? What do I have? Well, my biggest one is the like we were talking about yesterday is the healthcare hacks. You know how they're always getting hit with data loss and how they don't have
Yeah,
enough security to
and it's
hold
not.
all this sensitive data down. It's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, and it's not. There's multiple factors into that, but it's not even that they don't have the security. It's that they don't. Their budgets won't allow it. So, with the healthcare industry, you have the healthcare industry is run by, like we were saying yesterday, like it is run by doctors, and doctors. I mean, uh, not to say anything's wrong with this, but doctors really only care about patient care and then insurance. Building the insurance company so that they can continue doing good patient care. They don't really see data security as part of that equation. They don't see that the chart that they use to get the information from contains everyone's livelihood, like entirely. And I think that it really that until the healthcare industry changes how they view data security, and not HIPAA requirements or whatever. I'm talking about how they fundamentally
For
view
sure.
data as more than just pieces of paper, as actual living, as tied to actual living, breathing human beings.
I agree. I it's kind of a mess to be on that end. I don't know. It's something that they need to dial in for sure because they have so much information, customer data, and they're just like, kind of lacking that side of their business, you know?
Yeah, I mean every IT professional I know complains about going into a doctor's office and seeing the back of a computer staring at them while they sit in the room by themselves for 30 minutes. And
That's so
it's
funny.
that sort of stuff, that sort of simple solution security. I mean, all they have to do is put it in a lockbox. They make them, they get attached under the desk, they attach to the wall, they just sit on the floor. You put it in a lockbox and I can't get to it. They cost about $30. I don't see why these company these these businesses don't use that. And it's goes back to what I was saying, that they don't fundamentally understand the need to make that cost to make that cost validated, or not validated, justified, to justify that cost for what they see is not impertinent in either billing insurance or patient care.
I got one for you actually. I actually
Yeah.
when I was working in the healthcare industry for IT, it was really funny because in the patient room, they had a closet within the patient room. No key needed to get in this closet. You open the closet in front of the patients, and all their switches are just sitting there in the closet. I mean, anybody could walk in there uh with an outfit and just say, "Yeah, I'm here to look at, some of the switches," and I can just I mean, it's a simple stuff like that where it's like who's kind of run like the IT or the security side of this is kind of crazy because anybody could walk in there and mess with things, you know?
Yeah, and it's not saying that, okay, you lock a door and that's going to prevent you from all cyber attacks, but I mean, the lowest hanging fruit is the one that gets picked.
Uh-huh.
So
It could knock out a whole doctor's office right there.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many times I've been tempted to just like stick a USB plug in there and boop, a little like Bash Bunny, little remote and shell injector just to
You see what
see if
happens.
I just see what happens, because it's staring at me. It's like, I don't know. It's very weird. And if they even have a lock on the screen is a maybe. I mean, a lot of the times I've seen them just having open windows with a logged in user, and it's usually a local admin user just
Yeah.
sitting in the waiting room, sitting in the room, the actual exam room. So it's pervasive, and unfortunately, I think people are going to have to get hurt before it actually gets any better.
No, yeah, and I like these talks because we're just trying to improve security within the businesses. Just
Yeah, for
understanding
sure.
the importance of security.
Hmm.
Because
Definitely.
one step up.
Yeah, just one. All right. Well, I'm gonna head out. Let me know if y'all need anything. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right. Hey, we'll see you
Thanks.
soon.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye,
Okay,
guys.
okay, bye guys.